Welcome back to St. Louis. I'm Major Garrett, living out my lifelong dream of being an internet anchor. Because you're watching, you know that we're just hours away from the second presidential debate here at Washington University in the fine city of St. Louis. We are joined by Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez, Democratic strategist Linda Tran, and CBS News elections director Anthony Salvanto. Anthony, let me start with you. Where does this race sit based on our latest battleground surveys that you've been cracking the numbers on?
Well, you start in Ohio, which is kind of pivotal to Donald Trump's chances, and Hillary Clinton has taken a lead there. Then you throw in Pennsylvania, which is also pivotal to Donald Trump's chances, and Hillary Clinton has an even bigger lead there. She's up 8 points in our latest tracker. So from an electoral map standpoint, that starts to look like it's closing in a little bit on Donald Trump. But what I think in a larger sense is that he's got his base, and they're not moving. And we even asked people, even after this tape, is it change your mind about Donald Trump? No. The question is, can he grow beyond what he already has? And he's got to if he's going to swing those states back. That's looking harder.
And there had been this hope within the Trump campaign. I've heard it time and time again on the trail. The industrial Midwest, the upper Midwest, is really a place where Donald Trump can not just win Ohio, as Republicans always have to, but begin to redraw the map. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, maybe even Michigan becomes competitive. Is there any evidence in our data, Anthony, that any of that is coming to pass?
No, and he got closer for a while, but there were always these holdouts. I called them the reluctant Republicans. He hadn't quite unified the party, in particular suburban, more moderate women who had not come into the Trump camp, and they're still out there. It's not even an argument problem. It's a math problem. They're numerous in the key places that he needs to win, in the suburbs of those cities, the cities where the Democrats will always do well. But Republicans typically win these groups, and now we're seeing these large swings back toward Hillary Clinton. We could see an enormous gender gap if these trends continue. So unless he starts to pull them back, then no, you just can't add up enough votes, even from the Trump base, to swing these kinds of states.
Leslie, as we've all learned, this election has been an exercise in contrarians telling elites they're wrong and showing them that all their modeling and assumptions and previous history, mine included, can be toppled by someone who is a completely new factor in American politics, namely Donald Trump. Do you think there's anything that Anthony described that isn't happening, or is there something else out there that we should be sifting that might create a different result for Donald Trump?
Sure. A couple of things to keep in mind. One, we know 9 to 12 million more individuals should be turning out. It's hard to say where this tape, whether the tape is going to depress vote. That's more the issue in terms of squashing intensity. But we know in an open seat election, traditionally 9 to 12 million more people. We know that Ohio River Valley that we're talking about, working class white voters, have really not solidified like they used to in the Democratic base. That was the opportunity. Two very strong books that talked about it's a major concern for the Democratic Party. And third is there is a realignment we have said has been coming. We are way overdue in terms of the party structures not having the same DNA as they have before. And that is what we're seeing now. It started with the Tea Party. It started, you could argue it went back to 92, but you have floating voters that are coming in and out when they feel the country's in trouble. We don't quite know where they're going to fall. I do believe many of the people who say they're undecided are decided, but they're not necessarily committed to those particular candidates.
Linda, your observations based on the last 48 hours. Saturday Night Live had this great segment where they showed, well, let's go live to the Clinton headquarters, and Hillary Clinton, the actress playing her, looks like right out of Saturday Night Fever,
Just having a party.
Having a party. Is that the general Democratic reaction? Ought that to be the general Democratic reaction to this tape?
I expect that there was some level of mirth and glee at least 2 days ago when this first came to light. I mean, this is not just any moment during the cycle, but a very, very important moment. It's when people are paying attention. It came after the first presidential debate when, as we know, somewhere between 84 million and 99 million people tuned in. And so when people are paying attention, their perceptions matter the most. Anthony's point is people are already dug in terms of which camp they're in. But one factor here is fervor, also among staff and volunteers. And so if you've built a smart presidential infrastructure and campaign, your team needs a shot in the arm, and this is the moment for it. This is the time when, early voting is underway. So it's also about turnout. So you just want to get people more excited to drag them out to the polls, make sure they're casting their ballots. Because as we know, a third of the votes were cast before Election Day.
And Leslie, on the psychology of it, there will be fewer surrogates for Donald Trump here tonight than there were going to be here 48 hours ago. Several canceled.
And there
They
were
said,
fewer
"I'm not-
last week."
And I'm not coming. Men and women. I was supposed to be there. I wanted to be there.
Right.
But this is a deal breaker for me.
Sure.
Psychologically, how does that affect a national campaign?
It's a growing delta between established Republicans or elected Republicans who have to choose, or either in competitive races, they're going to be back home competing, or they're concerned about down ballot. How's this going to look for the party, especially if they feel it's 1996, it's a sinking ship, whatever analogy you want to use. That is more what they're looking at. And they've got operatives who grew up in the same line of thinking. This is how we handle crisis communications on the Republican and Democratic side. This is what we do. We wouldn't be near such a toxic candidate. But there is a movement oriented around this nominee that has not been explained sufficiently. And so staying away, being quiet is really kind of their past, and they're leaving Donald Trump to do what Donald Trump does.
Anthony,